Get me that signal. We need more power.
Welcome to the Voice of E Board Game Reviews. I'm your host, Elliott Miller. Today I'll be looking at Star Trek Catan from Mayfair Games. It was designed by Klaus Tuber, and it came out in 2012. It's for 3 to 4 players ages 10 and up. It takes a little over an hour to play, and it'll set you back about $55 to get a copy. I received my copy of the original Settlers of Catan some years ago on my birthday, and it took me a while before I actually decided to give it a try. It was different, it was fun, and for me, as well as many others, it became my gateway back into board gaming that I'd been away from for far too long. Star Trek, on the other hand, has been with me from the beginning. By the time I was old enough to watch the show, it was already in reruns, but it was new to me. I can still remember watching Spock kill Kirk during the heat of Ponfar, and turning to my father with a horror-stricken look on my face. He calmed me down and told me to keep watching to see what happens. That was the longest commercial break of my young life, and when Kirk finally pops up and Spock grabs him by the shoulders and shouting, "Jim!" I had tears in my eyes. Yeah, okay, I was 7, okay? Can 2 grown franchises share a board game without driving each other crazy? Oddly enough, let's make games set up. Let's take a look at the game, shall we? Here's the box for Star Trek Catan. Why don't we find out what's inside? I'm guessing there's game pieces. Baggies, always good. Here is a game overview rule sheet. Star Trek Catan Almanac, which has the A to Z information on the game itself. Here are your standard border pieces, your tiles, some space dice, many ships. Starbase, or if you don't have enough to make a starbase, you start with your little outpost. Longest supply route. Longest Starfleet. Building cost tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are special support cards, which we'll talk about in a bit. And of course, resources. These cards are a bit thin for my taste. Let's get the game set up. Star Trek Catan from Mayfair Games is, for the most part, a retheming of regular Catan, as you would expect. No more getting wood for sheep, instead you'll be trading dilithium for oxygen. Roads have been replaced with small plastic Constitution-class starships in 4 different player colors, and each player also gets 7 outposts or settlements and 4 habitat rings to turn their outposts into star bases or cities. Every figure comes with a clear plastic base. For the most part, the components of the game are very well done. The starships are neat, but they tend to get stuck together in the box. For example, the little engine nacelles will get stuck together sometimes. That's okay though, it's no big deal.
feel.
The tiles are thick, glossy, and full color with original artwork. The cards themselves are a bit thin for my tastes, as I mentioned. A couple of drops of water ruined one of my resource cards when normally a quick wipe would save me from catastrophe. So I do recommend sleeving the cards for Star Trek Catan, whereas normally I wouldn't bother. I should also mention that the molded plastic insert holds all of the pieces very nicely. The game includes a border frame to hold the hexagon tiles together, with different trading posts dotting the edges. There we see a 3-for-1. There's a 2-for-1 for oxygen. Oxygen. The planets come in 5 different colors representing the resources in the game. One tile is the asteroid field, which produces no resources and contains the dreaded Klingon battle cruiser, the equivalent of the robber from the original Settlers of Catan. After the board is assembled, as you see here, you place the numbered tokens around the board onto each tile. The tokens are alphabetized on the back to make them easier to place. Unfortunately, they used a font which makes it pretty difficult to distinguish a few of the letters. Specifically, D, O, and Q are quite similar. If you see here, there's D, O, and Q. Without close inspection. The D and Q are both 3s and the O is a 5. Just FYI. The number sides also have wedge designs on them to indicate their probability of being rolled. Like this 12 right here. Very low probability. The wider the wedge, the greater the probability. It's a nice touch to give novice players a visual clue on setup and strategy. 2 sets of rules are included, a 2-page foldout for beginners to Catan, Star Trek or otherwise, and a 16-page almanac with detailed explanations of the rules with examples. It was a wee bit confusing when I skipped the beginner rules and went straight to the almanac, as the setup rules are listed under S near the back of the book. It was easier to read the beginner rules anyway, then move on to the almanac. The setup of the player's first 2 outposts or settlements and space routes or roads are very important to the strategy of the game, and the almanac includes some helpful tips for the players to use during setup. The object of the game is to be the first player to achieve 10 victory points. Each outpost is worth 1 point, so everyone begins with at least 2 victory points from the start. Star bases are upgraded outposts that are worth 2 victory points each. The largest Starfleet tile is worth 2 victory points, and it goes to the player with the most Starfleet Intervenes development cards in play. Finally, the longest supply route tile is also worth 2 victory points, and is held by the player with the longest continuous chain of starships. The deck of development cards has some random VP awarding cards scattered through it that the players hang on to face down to add a touch of mystery to their actual score. Once a player hits his or her 10 victory points on their turn, they win the game. Now up to this point, Star Trek Catan is for the most part identical to Settlers. What sets this version apart from Settlers is the addition of support cards. There are 10 different support cards included, each featuring a different member of the original Enterprise crew. At the start of the game, each player receives a specific card based on their player order. Each card has an A side and a B side. These are the same, but the first time you use the support card, you can either choose a new support card from the remaining available cards, or flip the one you have over to the B side and use it again on a future turn. After a second use, the cards must go back to the stack of available support cards and you must choose a new one. What do the support cards do? Some of them are very handy to have around, and all of them are useful. Uhura is always the first support card selected. She can enable you to force a 1-to-1 trade with up to 2 other players, demanding the resource that you want and giving back the resource of your choice from your own hand. Montgomery Scott's card is next and allows you to build a starship or road on your turn, replacing one of the required resources with a resource of your choice. Spock would end up with player 3. Spock lets you pick the resource of your choice on a turn that you didn't receive any resources at all, unless a 7 was rolled. That's when the Klingon battlecruiser or robber does his thing. If there are 4 players, the 4th player gets the Hikaru Sulu support card. Sulu allows you to move one of your existing roads from one legal location to another legal location. It comes in handy when another player has you trapped and you need a new direction to move into. After you use your initial support card, you get to choose a new support card from what's currently available on the table. The other cards include James T. Kirk, who allows you to ignore the negative effects of someone rolling a 7. Leonard McCoy allows you to substitute resources when buying a development card, and pick the development card that you want from the top 3 cards of the deck. You reshuffle the deck afterward. There are 4 additional support cards, rounding the total out to 10 different cards. These really come in handy at times, and it's a cool way to bring a bit more Star Trek theme into Catan. These are the movie versions of the Enterprise crew, and only real Trek fans would notice or care. I'd prefer young gold shirt Kirk and blue shirt Spock from the TV series, but it has no impact on the game itself. Here's what I recommend. If you like Settlers of Catan and you like Star Trek, then you'll love this game. It's a perfect fit for you. If you like Settlers but you're indifferent to Star Trek, well, it'll be an interesting change of pace, but it won't really make any difference and you'll probably eventually end up going back to playing regular Settlers anyway. If you're a Trek fan but not a Settlers fan, well, it's up to you. There's a lot of neat little starships included in the game and it's very thematic. But if you hate Settlers, then there's no point in picking up this game for any reason other than having a complete Star Trek collection, which of course is a perfectly valid reason. If you've never played Settlers and you are a Trek fan, I'd say give this version a try. Settlers is a fun game and the added Star Trek theme is a bonus. I'd recommend the original Settlers of Catan to anyone who's never played it. My wish list for this game would be if they included actual pieces for the resources rather than the cards, like little oxygen or dilithium crystals. But, that might be a little difficult because then you could see everybody's resources, what they have, unless you had some way to block it. I just thought it would be neat, that's all. Maybe in the 5-player expansion. I'm assuming that there's going to be a 5-6 player expansion, especially since 2 of the support cards were labeled A5 and 6. Who knows? I guess it depends on how this one does out in the world. We should know soon. The pros for this game. It's Settlers of Catan with a Star Trek theme. The support cards add some interesting twists to the rules. So, go for it. The cons. It's right now for 3 to 4 players only. It would have been nice if it went up to 5 players out of the box. The cards are a bit flimsy. I'd give Settlers of Catan an 8. So, that's it. That's my review of Star Trek Catan. I hope you've enjoyed watching this board game review, and stay tuned for many more in the future, along with other interesting news and tidbits from the board game and entertainment world from the Voice of E. I'm your host, Elliott Miller, and thanks for watching.